I have some very serious news to cover this evening, and what we're seeing is the normalization of pro Hitler, anti Semitic, racist, xenophobic language on the internet and within some of the top echelons of the Republican Party. Remember the group chat that was exposed yesterday by Politico, the group chat with senior Republican, young Republican leaders across the country from New York to Kansas and in other chapters? Well, Vice President J.D. Vance has spent the past 24 hours really downplaying what some of these comments were. I mean, these young Republicans were talking about and joking about gas chambers, rape, Hitler, and more. And well, today, Vice President Vance went on the Charlie Kirk Show, and essentially defended members of the young Republicans caught sharing the racist, anti Semitic, and homophobic messages, calling them, quote, edgy, offensive jokes, saying that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. He argued that this behavior shouldn't, quote, ruin their lives, and said that Jay Jones, who's a Democratic Attorney General candidate in Virginia, well, the text messages about him and political violence, which were horrific, were called a, quote, 1,000 times worse.
Focusing on what kids are saying in a group chat, grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. But there's another angle to this that I just have to be honest about. I mean, I'm like an old guy at this point. I'm 41 years old. I have 3 kids. I grew up in a different world, right? Where not most of the stupid things that I did when I was a teenager and a young adult, they're not on the internet. Like, I'm going to tell my kids, especially my boys, don't put things on the internet. Like, be careful with what you post. If you put something in a group chat, assume that some scumbag is going to leak it in an effort to try to cause you harm or cause your family harm. But the reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And at some point, we're all going to have to say, enough of this BS. We're not going to allow the worst moment in a 21-year-old's group chat to ruin a kid's life for the rest of time. That's just not okay. Like, we live in a digital world. This stuff is now etched in stone online. We're all going to have to say, you know what? No. We're not doing this. We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat. And if I have to be the person who carries that message forward, I'm fine with it.
Now, Politico exposed 2,900 pages of chats containing over 250 slurs and praise of Hitler. There have been widespread backlash, widespread firings, but apparently for Vance, that's not justified. And I think it's pretty stunning to see that the vice president of the United States is literally carrying water for individuals who praised Hitler in a group chat. And that on its own is a big story. But today we learned that U.S. Capitol Police are now launching an investigation after an American flag altered with a swastika was discovered in the Capitol Hill office of Congressman Dave Taylor, a Republican from Ohio. Taylor condemned the, quote, vile image, saying that it does not reflect his or his staff's values, and suggested that it may have been an act of vandalism. But if you look at the image, and I have it below, it's literally an image of an American flag with a swastika in the center. It was on display in a congressional aide's office in his cubicle in the back of a Zoom. If it was never screenshotted and displayed to the world, we would never have seen it, and it may still be up today. And to compound that, Donald Trump this afternoon, when speaking from the Oval Office, thanks Stephen Miller, one of his senior advisors. Stephen Miller is the architect behind many of Donald Trump's kind of more radical policies, joking that he'd like Miller to come up and explain essentially his true feelings before quipping, quote, that maybe not his truest feelings would be appropriate. So essentially, Donald Trump and the White House know what Stephen Miller's truest feelings are as it relates to policy, as it relates to immigration, as it relates to crime, and so much more. And if you know anything about Stephen Miller, this is the man who wants to make essentially America more white. That is the goal. And so we're seeing this kind of normalization of really horrific rhetoric, of horrific statements, and not enough people are speaking up about it. Not enough media organizations are making this the top story on their websites and print. Because if we don't stop this, and if we don't call it out now for what it is, abhorrent, racist, anti-Semitic, it'll only get worse. And while I'm going to try to do that, I'm doing that here, and I need your help to spread the word because platforms like TikTok and elsewhere, well, they shut it down. They silence voices like this. And so please consider subscribing to support my work. Now, several big court rulings and or court cases that we're following today. The first is a case out of Louisiana in front of the United States Supreme Court, Louisiana versus Calais, which essentially argues, this is the issue, whether or not Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is constitutional. Section 2 handles race-based redistricting. Essentially, districts drawn, congressional districts drawn, black majority congressional districts, race being considered as a factor when drawing districts. And the justices, the conservative justices on the court, seemingly are at least inclined, based on oral arguments, to gut race-based districting in America. And if that were to happen, Democrats could lose upwards of 20 to 30 congressional seats. In California, on the other side of the country, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking the Trump administration from laying off federal workers during a government shutdown. The judge in the Northern District of California said that Donald Trump's firings were unlawful and essentially were political in nature. And so the judge blocked them. And meanwhile, the United States government is now entering the third week of a government shutdown after a ninth failed Senate vote, with Democrats and Republicans completely deadlocked over spending and health care. The Trump administration has sustained military pay, but today is the first day every other furloughed federal worker didn't receive a paycheck. Indivisible, the organization behind the No King's Day protest scheduled for October 18th in just 3 days, is now expecting this protest to be the largest ever protest in modern-day American history. To get there, it needs more than 20 million people. The largest currently is Earth Day back in 1970, and also the George Floyd protest, the Black Lives Matter protest, which on a conservative estimate had about 15 million folks. On a more, I guess you could say liberal estimate, about 25, 26 million folks. So No King's Day 2.0 could be bigger than even that. Now that would be significant. NBC News today laid off about 150 staffers, roughly 7% of its newsroom, and disbanded its dedicated teams for NBC Black, NBC Asian America, NBC Latino, and NBC Out, signaling a broader media industry pullback from diversity-focused coverage as the networks restructure amid financial pressure and its split from MSNBC. The Trump administration is widening its military campaign in the Caribbean, including at least one strike targeting Colombian nationals, no longer just Venezuelan nationals. And the administration has also secretly authorized the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, to conduct covert and potentially lethal operations in Venezuela as part of an expanded campaign to oust Nicolas Maduro alongside strikes in the Caribbean. Democrats are pressuring House Speaker Mike Johnson to swear in Adelita Grijalva, who won a special election now 3 weeks ago. He has refused to do so, and now we're learning that the United States passport has fallen out of the world's top 10 for the first time in 20 years, ranking 12th in terms of power alongside Malaysia, as stricter U.S. immigration policies and reduced visa reciprocity under the Trump administration have weakened American travel freedom amid a broader global shift towards openness towards other nations. That's all the news right now. As always, if you want to support my work, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Hey folks, Aaron Parnas here. Thank you so much for watching The Parnas Perspective. Please consider subscribing to support our work as we grow this independent news media entity into something that rivals mainstream every single day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.